my friend Dr. Jim Hogue. And Jim, tell my audience what you do.
I work here in the Department of Biology at California State University Northridge, and my main job here is I'm our collections manager, and I take care of collections of specimens of insects and plants and reptiles and amphibians and birds and mammals.
What is biodiversity? Can you tell me?
Yeah, I kind of think of biodiversity as the entirety of all of the living material and their associations on our planet, from ecosystems and communities of organisms down to their genes and the products of those genes. All of that is what is thought of or considered to be biodiversity.
So things got kind of out of balance with industrial agriculture, right? I mean, when you see whole fields of one crop.
Yeah, I don't know if I use the word balance. I mean, it doesn't have to be any way. It was one way, and now people have changed it. And if you don't believe it, all you got to do is go on a plane and fly across the country. So much of what you see is not natural landscapes. They're agricultural landscapes, and it's very different than what you see in natural landscapes. Much more homogeneous, and this biodiversity that we're talking about is much reduced. So in some instances, the landscape is literally a monoculture of one kind of organism, typically some plant, and that's all there is living in that one particular place. And that's very different from the natural world, yeah. It's done that way at the expense of other things that we also depend upon and need as human beings. The trick is to find out some way that we can do both of those things without destroying one or the other. Because we can't do it without modern agriculture, but we also can't do without biodiversity and natural ecosystems, even though us human beings tend to behave as if we could.
Right. If you seek biodiversity in your own garden, you're making a difference overall, right? Even if you have just a small space, you're making a difference in the whole
Yeah, it's all a
ecosystem,
part
right?
of the bigger picture. I mean, that's why us humans have gardens, and one of the things we like about gardens is that they are not just one thing. They are lots of things, and they're continually changing. They also interact with the rest of the world, and it makes our life interesting and rewarding. Our gardens produce things that we can eat, but they also produce things that we just see and we spend time with, and that makes us happy because we are part of biodiversity. That's our home.
Right.
So
well,
we're making a piece of it in our backyards that we get to experience on our own terms. So we can grow stuff on small scales, even in people's backyards. We just seem to not do it on a large enough scale.
we need more people doing it. is
Yeah,
what
if
you're
you
saying.
go around Los
Right.
Angeles, in my neighborhood, the backyards aren't used. Half of the people don't go outside. Those that go outside,
You do.
those that go outside don't do anything much outside, or they fill their backyards with more buildings.
And let's talk about topsoil, because every time you put a building on topsoil, you're sealing that off. And does that topsoil stay alive underneath driveways and buildings? I mean,
Some of it's still there, but the living part of it is either completely gone or very much compromised. I mean, you think of some of the greatest agricultural land in Southern California is underneath houses.
and
really is gone.
asphalt.
Yeah, because soil is part of biodiversity. It's a living thing, and
Right.
once you cover it over, it dies.
Well, that's what they say, that there's only X number of 50 years left of topsoil on the planet, that we are not able to replenish topsoil at a fast enough speed to continue to produce enough food for the people on this planet. So, what are we going to do about that?
Well, there are people that know some of the answers to those things, but as is true of other things, we don't do it that way.
Yeah. What do you know about fungi? Do fungi, I understand that fungi can travel for miles underground, and
Yeah, really, when you think of a fungus, what you see or are familiar with is the fruiting bodies.
it's just like
So when
the
you
apple, right?
Yeah,
The
well,
whole
when
tree is
you
under-
buy fungus in the supermarket, you're buying the fruiting bodies that produce spores, And but the organism, most of it is in the form of these little thread-like things called hyphae, and they just spread out throughout the soil or other decomposing organic matter, and that's really the organism. And then periodically they put up these fruiting bodies when they reproduce.
So I've just started using wood chip, no-till wood chip gardening, and now even after a few months I'm lifting up some of those to plant something new, and I find all of these,
yeah,
what are they called?
The hyphae.
Hyphae.
Yeah.
Hyphae.
And when you start watering
Or is it
those
mycelium?
two,
Or?
well, when you start watering those two, then you will start to see them really grow, and you'll
Yeah.
get stuff coming in your yard that came from the wood chips, or there are fungi that only, that's where they grow. They grow in decomposing pieces of wood, and so things that you didn't have in your yard before, now you get to see them. And this year, it wasn't the greatest year for water, but it rained more at some time of the year than we had in a little bit, and I saw fungi I've never seen in my yard. Yeah,
Really?
took some pictures of them, yeah.
You have your new book, which I just got a copy
Oh,
of.
okay.
I should have
Yeah.
brought that. But that's a place to go where you can get information, as well as sometimes you can research online. You see a bug and you go online to try to find out what that is, but you don't really know for sure and you don't have the information. But if you're in Southern California, this book is called
The Insects of the Los Angeles Basin, and it's very useful for the things that we see around here. Of course, it doesn't have everything, because
Oh, gosh, no.
there are literally thousands of species of insects living here in Los Angeles, and you couldn't make a book
that holds it all.
dealt with all of them, and lots of them we don't even know that they're here. So how could you write about them if you didn't even know that they're here or what they are? But lots of them are there, and if it's not in there, at least it gets you close, you know.
The bugs that we actually see in our garden, there are probably just as many organisms under the soil that we don't see ever or rarely. Would you say that's true?
Yeah,
that there's as many underneath the soil as there are
Yeah, the
above?
soil, again, like we talked about being alive, and yeah, it has some large macroscopic things in it, you know, larvae of beetles and earwigs and flies and things like that you could pick up in your hand and see. But then, of course, if you had a microscope, then it really does come alive, and there are millions and billions of nematodes and mites and bacteria and all that stuff that is a living part of the soil.
What is a nematode?
It's a whole group of...
I can't see it, right? It's too small.
Well, some are big.
Oh.
Yeah, so like humans can be infested, you'll cut this part out, infested with some nematodes, big old things like this that live inside your body. Yeah.
Oh, in your body.
Yeah, so they're internal parasites that are nematodes.
Oh,
Nematodes all look the same to me.
I'm sorry I asked.
Yeah, they're long, thin worms that are pointed on both ends.
Okay.
That's what nematodes look like.
No, let's just talk about the soil.
But there's lots of them that are microscopic things. Some of them can be pestiferous and hurt plants.
Yeah.
Others are essentially predators on other organisms. Some of them are parasites of arthropods, so they do lots of different things. But some of them, they're so numerous. They're such an important component of the living components of the soil. But they still, whether they're a foot long or a third of a millimeter long, they're just long worms with pointeds on both ends to me. They all look very similar, and yet they are different. Yeah.
Okay, so you've answered what is biodiversity and why is it important, and now how do we get it in our gardens? Because that's really all we have charge of is our own garden.
Right, and that's probably the easiest thing that you can do. Yeah, one that's a good thing is you don't need a lot of money, especially if you've got a strong back.
Well.
And don't mind working with your hands. But all that stuff is also, edifying and rewarding. To get outside, work with your hands, get them dirty. You know, if your back's not that strong, it will be by the time you get done. But it's really not that difficult. And you can start by encouraging some of the plants. You may have plants already in your yard that you can encourage them to reproduce and spread. And you can go out and purchase plants. If you don't want to purchase whole plants, you don't have a lot of money, you can purchase seeds and start your own plants. And then just find out what works in your yard for your particular climate and your water regimen, whatever your soil and things like that, encourage those in as many different kinds of things as you can encourage in your yard. Your yard will change, and then another almost magical thing happens that you don't have to do anything about, is there are all these other organisms that are out there that move around, and because of what you do to your yard, now they'll come to your yard. They're there anyways, they just don't stick around. But when you have a diverse assemblage of plants in your yard, both of different kinds and different structures, they will stay, and you'll notice your yard changing. There'll be butterflies and flies and beetles and grasshoppers and things that will spend time in your yard and make your yard home. And then you'll see more lizards, you'll see more scorpions, you'll see more birds, definitely.
Oh,
and
yes.
your yard will become a different place, and it'll become a place that is more rewarding, and you'll enjoy spending more time. And then maybe you won't spend so much time inside, and you'll enjoy your backyard more.
Right.
And then a lot of times your neighbors see that and they say, hey, that's a good idea. I think I want to do that too.
Exactly.
And then it can spread like a fungus, from yard to yard.
Right.
And it's good for the whole neighborhood. And it can even encourage community and interaction among your neighbors, which is something we could do more of.
Thank you.
Is it helping? Getting
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you. Awesome.
Okay. Our specimens in our collections, like in other collections, they come from all over the place, and from different kinds of people. So many of ours come from students or professors, or they're products of research projects. And I do lots of collecting myself. So any trip I go on, any vacation, is also a collecting trip. And particularly I collect plants and I collect insects and whatever I can find.
Do you still have my ladybug?
Yeah, we should be able to find it.
Let's find
Yeah,
my
let's go
ladybug.
see if I can find it. Do you remember what its name was? What species it was?
No.
Oh, we're looking in this drawer here of ladybird beetles, and we were looking for one that you collected, and I found it. There it is right there in that drawer. It's called Halmus calibius, and it's the only specimen we have of that species. So it'll be there for another 100 or 200 years. So that was collected in 2013.
That's right.
Yeah, we know where it was collected, when it was collected, and your name's on there. If you don't do anything with your life, you'll always have something for future generations to remember you by.
Now, how many lady beetles do we have? Do you think that we have any Southern California?
Ooh, Southern California, probably a few dozen. Some really common that you're going to find them in everybody's yard, and then others be really, really tough to find them. And there are lots of them that are fairly small, and you wouldn't think that they're lady beetles, but that's the group of beetles that they belong to. We always think of them as being orange or red with black dots, but they all aren't like that. The example is yours.
Blue metallic.
Yeah, it doesn't look.
Well, the one I really love is the twice stabbed.
Okay. Here's some black ones with 2 marks. Those are different species. They have nothing to do with each other. If we looked at them under a microscope and you knew what to look at, you would say, oh, these things are different.
Well, what's amazing is there are a lot of pests that kind of look like lady beetles.
Yeah, just small round beetles. There are hundreds and hundreds of them, around here, and you just have to know what to look at. And of course, they do different things.
How do you know it's a lady beetle, which is a beneficial insect, and not a pest?
Yeah, I think that just has to boil down to experience and seeing enough of them, in your yard, and kind of knowing what to look at. So most of them look like ladybird or lady beetles, and you'll learn to recognize the common ones, and then others are things you hadn't seen before, and it would be really kind of hard to tell sometimes.
The way you know for sure is if it's got an aphid in its mouth, right?
Well, I guess that's a good thing. If you don't like aphids.
I know.
But if you like aphids, then maybe you don't like lady beetles. Yeah.
I don't like aphids.
Yeah.
I understand that male or female aphids can lay live young.
Females do. At certain times of year, when the going is real good, when their plants are growing, there's lots to eat. Lots of female aphids, what they do is something called parthenogenesis. And what they're doing is they're producing new young from eggs that aren't fertilized. So they're pretty much clones of that female, and they just pump out live aphids very fast, and they build up their populations very quickly. Later on in the late summer and in the fall, when it's not so good, then they start reproducing sexually, and then producing male and female individuals that have wings and can fly around and disperse. So they do two different things. One individual is doing different things, different strategies for making new individuals at different times of the year.
I also read that the female can have live young that are already pregnant with live young.
Oh, they might. In human females, the next generation, their eggs, they've already started. They're there.
That's true.
So you're kind of born with
That's
those.
true.
So it must be maybe something similar to that, yeah. But the point is, they can, at certain times of the year, they can make lots of aphids in a short amount of time. You know, like I have some plants and some milkweeds in my yard that have these milkweed aphids on them, and you can hose them off, and they can make new ones real fast.
You're talking about the oleander, right?
Well,
The
they're
yellow
these
ones?
orange,
Yeah.
they're kind of orange.
They're non-native.
Yeah, and
oleander
you can just
aphids.
blast them off, but they're not coming back. They're not walking back. They're
No.
just the ones that you can't blast off or didn't blast off. They're just making new ones real fast.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
it's a good strategy. It works. It's also fun.
We don't have these here, do we? These monster things?
Not that kind. That's from Southeast Asia. That specimen's probably from Thailand.
I just made a YouTube video yesterday of the animals that are in
That's amazing.
Yes. You film them?